We may live over 5,000 miles from Lincoln Financial Field, but what we lack in proximity, we make up for in film study. And each and every week, we'll be bringing you in-depth film breakdowns from across the pond and the Sooner State. Welcome to On the Shane Page. I am your host, Shane Haff. You can follow me on Twitter at Shane Haff NFL. I am joined by BGN's own Jonny Page. Give him a follow on Twitter at Jonny Page9. Jonny, how are you doing this evening?
I am very good. Eagles beat Dallas. I don't know why, but we all know the rivalry with the Cowboys is the biggest one. This was a really weird one because I'm not sure I enjoyed the game as much as I should have, considering we beat Dallas, because it just felt awful. And then I'm not really sure I enjoyed watching the All-22 very much, actually. I feel like certain things stressed me out more than maybe normal. So it's a weird one. I feel like I should be really, really enjoying this victory. And I feel like the mood online is sort of similar. Like, even when I posted my clips yesterday, there wasn't like loads of people replying positively. And I think it's a sign of how good this team are, by the way, that they can win games against very good teams and people are still expecting more. But yeah, we'll sort of get into why. But it was a really interesting one because there are so many positives and there's also so many things that left us scratching our heads a little bit. But at the end of the day, I said this to you on text Monday morning, all the Eagles do is win. And this team is so good at winning. And it can't be overstated how good they are at winning. So although we're going to get in depth, as we always do, we're going to talk about all the little things we are going to nitpick because that's what we do here. And that's exactly what I think the coaches should be doing over the next week, by the way, with their week off. Despite all that, I can't say enough about how this team wins. They just win games consistently. And it's pretty incredible, actually, just how many close games they seem to pull off at this point. But yeah, I think we've got some good and some bad in this one.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, it's amazing to me how much longer it takes me to watch all 22 now to prep for this podcast. Just doing the all 22 videos, like there were specific things, specific plays I would watch closely. And now I feel like I have to watch every play like 8 times because I have to see if the pass rush got home and I need to see the top of screen corners. And then I got to watch it again to see the bottom of screen corners. And then I need to see the safeties and the linebackers. And it takes me so much longer to watch the film, but I'm always anxious to hop on here and compare notes. So we're going to dive into our offensive takeaways. Offense is up first this week. Before we do that, though, if you guys are enjoying this episode, enjoying the show, please leave us a 5-star rating and review on Apple Podcasts. Any feedback you can give us there to help make this show even better is greatly appreciated. So please take a moment to do that if you haven't already. We also love the comments on YouTube and things that helps boost the show in the algorithm as well. So let's dive into the offense. We're each going to have 3 points on each side of the ball. My first point that I want to talk about is the way that the Eagles respond to adversity. And so I'm going to put up on the screen here. I want to talk about the first drive. This will be up on Twitter later for those of you not watching. But the Eagles are moving the ball. They're into Dallas territory. And all of a sudden you have a delay of game and it's 1st and 15. And then on 1st and 15, Jordan Mailata just gets beat off the edge. Jalen Hurts gets strip sacked. The Eagles are really fortunate to fall on this ball. And it wouldn't be the only time in this game they were fortunate in regards to fumble recovery luck. But suddenly you're at 2nd and 23. And all the statistics show that like a sack is almost as damning to a drive in terms of EPA as an interception is. It's just a drive killer. You're at 2nd and 23. And on 2nd and 23, the Cowboys show a single high coverage. At the top of the screen, A.J. Brown is in the slot, and the defender that's over him is giving him a lot of cushion because he's going to bail out into a split field look. I think Hurts and Brown realize this, and they adjust this route, and Brown just sits down. Little 8-yard stop route, get him the ball, and now all of a sudden, instead of 3rd and 23, you're down to like 3rd and 12. That's good. We're giving ourselves a chance. And then I said 3rd and 12. It's actually 3rd and 15. On 3rd and 15, the Eagles go empty. And one of the things I love about empty is it makes the defense tip their hand. One of the things the defense loves about empty is that if they put 5 guys up to rush, they can dictate matchups. And they dictate a matchup with Micah Parsons rushing against Tyler Steen, who we'll talk about more later. And it's like Tyler Steen's not even there. He just blows by him. But because it's off-man coverage, A.J. Brown on a little slant route saves this play. And so you get the snap. He's going to break off the route. It looked like the clip froze there, but that's okay. All of a sudden, you're at a 4th and 3. 4th and 3. The Eagles already went for it on a 4th and 1 from their own 34-yard line. They're going to go for this 4th and 3. And you can't tush push it. So they go to everybody's favorite concept. It's crash, right? Except this time, the two things I want to point out I'll leave one of them for later. One thing I want to point out on this play is we've seen them throw crash time and time again in short yardage situations to A.J. Brown on the in route. This time it goes to Dallas Goedert from the slot running this corner route. A.J. Brown's covered up. Hurts puts a beautiful ball on Dallas Goedert to move the chains. The Eagles would score on the very next play. And I think it's so telling about this team, the way that they respond to adversity. You see it in the Dolphins game when you get the pick six, right, where Hurts is hit as he's it was batted up into the air. You've seen them time and time again respond to adversity. And that's one of the things I love most about this team. You see it coming out at halftime when you're trailing your last drive, you're moving the ball, and then it gets cut short when Hurts gets his knee hit. You come out of the halftime down 60 plays, 60 yards on 6 plays. You score a touchdown, including a Hurts scramble. That's where you get the beautiful 29-yard throw to Devontae Smith. It can't be overstated how nothing ever snowballs for this offense. It just doesn't. It doesn't matter what happens. You can have a holding and get to 1st and 20. You can be at 2nd and 23. And you just never truly feel like a drive is over because they're so good at clawing back in these situations. So that was the first thing that stuck out to me. There was a lot of adversity in this game. I thought they answered the bell really well.
Yeah, and on that, I'm a massive believer in culture. I mean, I'm a big sports fan in many other sports, not just the NFL. And I think I always wonder where culture comes from, who drives it. A lot of people say, is it the owner? But we've seen Jeffrey Lurie have some good teams and some bad teams. So I think Jalen Hurts clearly drives the culture of this team. And I think he basically summarizes how the Eagles respond to adversity basically better than anyone because he is so level-headed. I think there was a quote he gave once in a press conference where he said, never get too up, never get too down. And it sort of sums him up as a professional. But there are so many good leaders in this locker room as well. And I count Sirianni as well. But let's be honest, Sirianni's first-time head coach. I don't suddenly believe he's this unbelievable culture guy that's brought everything with him. I think I look at players like Jason Kelce, A.J. Brown. There's a lot of leaders on both sides of the ball, Fletcher Cox and Brandon Graham on the defensive side. And they just have a really, really good mix of responding to adversity. Speaking of responding to adversity, that's going to take me into my first comment this week. Because I think, to be honest, you covered everything I wanted to say there. I did have a few points to mention, but you stole them from me. And the beauty of this podcast is we don't really plan this. We plan our points, but then we just sort of talk about it. The Eagles are going to have to respond to adversity because they're going to come up with the toughest stretch of their season this year. And they're going to have to do it without Dallas Goedert, who, in my opinion, is the second best receiving option on this team. It's going to be really tricky. So I wanted to talk. We don't really talk about Dallas Goedert very much. When you got A.J. Brown and you've got such a good running game, he sort of goes under the radar. But let's talk about exactly what he is. He is arguably, I think, up there with the most complete tight end in the NFL. I think he's definitely top 5 or top 6. But in terms of all-roundness, if that's a word, he can straight up block. Like, he can straight up handle one-on-one matchups. He doesn't really get used to chip very often because he's too good as a route runner. But they use him a lot in split zone. So they use him a lot as a blocker coming across the formation, and that looks easy. Go and watch the Eagles' last offensive play of this game with A.J. Brown trying to do his job. It's not. Timing on those things is really important. And he doesn't just block Dallas Goedert. There are certain tight ends, and I think of like Kyle Pitts, who does enough. And you say, oh, yeah, he can block. He can do enough. Now, Dallas Goedert is a plus blocker. He is a legitimate good blocker. As well as that, he's a fantastic receiving option. He runs the best intermediate out route there is on the Eagles roster. And he did it on that concept you just showed a second ago of crash. It's a really, really nice route. The way he leans into the defender to create just a yard of separation is really impressive. So then I look at what the Eagles have got now. They've got Jack Stoll, who I love as a blocker, but he's very much a blocker only. He is not running that route we just saw Dallas Goedert run. I've seen people talk about like a Julio Jones, like, could he play like this because he's big? And I mean, no. Like, he might line up a little bit maybe as a tight end, a bit like A.J. Brown did on his touchdown this week when he lined up in the backfield and ran that split zone flow motion on the RPO where he got a touchdown. But Julio Jones is not a tight end. Let's be honest. He's not going to be a plus blocker. I mean, you can have Dallas Goedert taking on edge defenders. You've seen him take on defensive tackles on trap and wham plays in the past few years as well. So it's really interesting to see what the Eagles do. Jack Stoll was obviously the really, really easy option. And I was watching this game thinking, next man up, next man up. And then, Shane, I watched play 10 of my Fred, which is a play that I'm not going to moan about because it's the deep shot to AJ Brown on 3rd and 3. I don't like it. I wouldn't have taken the shot there, but you will never hear me moan about aggressive plays. And I want you to watch Albert O, 85. Number one, he's absolutely huge. So he chips a defender, and then he runs this intermediate route across the middle of the field, and he looks as smooth as a tight end as you will see. And I scouted him heavily when the Eagles traded a late pick for him, or they didn't they? They traded something late for him. I scouted him a lot because I was really interested in him. He is a terrible blocker. And I mean, as bad as it gets blocker when I've seen him in the past. Like there were snaps when he didn't compete, quite frankly. His effort level was abysmal. But he is as natural as a runner as you will see. Like, I mean, he has snaps where he looks like a 6'5" wide receiver, and he is big. And when you see that snap, you just see the sheer size of the man, and you think, oh, there's something there. There is absolutely something there. So I am fascinated. My gut tells me the Eagles will go to Jack Stoll because that's what the Eagles do. They're next man up. I'm really interested to see if they give Albert O a shot, because what he can do is he can run the same side of routes that we've seen Dallas Goedert run. He can run that crash. He can run sort of shallow crossing routes across the middle of the field, what we also see Dallas Goedert do. He can run the screen game. Can he hold up as a blocker? And that's the big question. So we speak about responding to adversity. It's something the Eagles do well, and they're going to have to do it soon for about 4 weeks at least with Dallas Goedert out. But being realistic, I don't like the sound of the injury, and it could be I would say it's 4 weeks minimum on IR these days. So we'll see. I don't know if you have any thoughts on what they'll do at tight end, but I'm interested, and my own personal gut, not about what the Eagles would do, what I would do, I would throw Albert O a chance, give him a bone and see what he does, because you never know. The Eagles might end up finding something that actually could add a little bit of a different layer to the offense, whereas Jack Stoll is your safe guy, but he is not going to do anywhere near the amount of stuff that Dallas Goedert does in the receiving game.
Yeah, I think you're going to definitely see Alberto, because Grant Calcaterra, he retired from football in college because of concussions. Unretired, got drafted. He got a concussion in the Week 8 win over Washington and did not play on Sunday. That's why Alberto was active for one of the first times this season. I think you're going to have to see Jack Stoll and Alberto out there. And I like Alberto. I was saying the Eagles should trade for him last year at the trade deadline, because I said that an injury to Dallas Goedert was the most devastating non-Hurts injury that this team could have. And I like him. What you mentioned is spot on as far as his blocking. I do think a little bit of that comes down to, like, he was just done in Denver, but he's not a great blocker anyways. And so I think you'll see him some. It does hurt to lose the dual threat of blocking and receiving you had in Dallas Goedert, but part of me says the Eagles are not running the ball well right now anyways. So maybe that's less important. We just need a guy that can contribute in the passing game until the run game gets going again, which hopefully happens with Juergens coming back. Hopefully Hurts is able to heal up some over the bye week, but how the Eagles respond at tight end is going to be really interesting to watch.
Yeah, and one final thing, and I'll let you get to your second point. I'm a huge believer of 12 personnel. Always have been. I've written about it extensively quite a few years ago, actually, about the benefits that 12 personnel gives you. And I actually did a little bit of research and looked at teams that were best at 12 personnel and when it works. And basically, in very simple terms, 12 personnel only works if both of your tight ends can block and catch, because otherwise it's too predictable. So 12 personnel basically works if not one of them is a receiving tight end. They have to be able to block. So it's all very well Albert O being a tight end, but if he literally shows the same blocking I watched in Denver, teams are not going to treat him like a tight end at all. They'll just put a cornerback or a safety on him and they'll be completely fine because his blocking was that poor. I don't think Jack Stoll is good enough as a receiver to make it work. So I'm not sure I want too many snaps of 12 personnel moving forward without Dallas Goedert. I'm saying that as someone who likes 12 personnel. If you've got Jack Stoll and Albert O on the field, and then a Julio Jones on the sideline, or even a Kenny Gainwell on the sideline, I think I'd rather see more 2-1 personnel pony package. I think I'd rather see more 11 personnel and get Julio Jones or get Zacchaeus on the field. I think 12 personnel might be done for a little bit, which is a little bit of a worry because the Eagles don't do a great deal personnel-wise. They're pretty set in stone. So I think we might have to see 2-1 come back, because I don't think 12 personnel with Jack Stoll and Albert is really what you want to do, personally. Right. Do you want to get to your second point? I'll let you go again. So Tyler Steen, debut, obviously. I know what we're going to do each week is try and watch a few players quite closely as well, so we can mix it up. So what did you see from Tyler Steen in his first game?
Yeah, so Tyler Steen had the lowest PFF pass blocking grade of any offensive lineman in week 9 at 13.2. They charted him out with allowing 6 pressures on 32 pass blocking snaps. They did give him a decent run grade, a 66.3, which if you're unfamiliar with PFF scale, like a 60 is like average. So anything above 60 is a plus player. So they said he was a plus run blocker and a dreadful pass blocker. Now, this isn't me endorsing PFF grades. I generally think they do pretty decent with like line play, not so well with like secondary play. Or quarterback play particularly. But I cut up a bunch of clips. I have an all 22 video up on Steen, and it goes through a lot of these. I'm mostly just going to play these and kind of talk about what I saw. But I thought there were times that we saw him do really well. This first snap, he's one-on-one with Chauncey Golson, and I think he does a really good job firing his hands, staying in front, letting the ball come out. This next one that's going to show, it's that one-on-one with Parsons where he gets beat inside on that third down, and he just oversets to the outside. He's leaning, and Parsons makes him look silly. And Parsons makes a lot of guys look silly. So what I love is the very next play on fourth down, he's one-on-one with Jonathan Hankins, and he does a really good job of holding up, and he allows Hurts the time to come off of his first read, which is that in route to A.J. Brown, and hit that second read to Dallas Goedert. So I thought that one was good. Here's a run blocking. No, this isn't a run blocking rep. He's one-on-one again here. He's passing off a stunt, a two-man game, and he's slow. Like he's slow kicking his guy out, and he gets beat inside. Fortunately, Hurts is able to get outside the pocket there. This next one, he's going to get beat by DeMarcus Lawrence on the outside. DeMarcus Lawrence is more of a run stuffer these days, but he used to be a really good pass rusher. He's got good moves. He gets by Steen here. Steen maybe gets away with a little bit of a hold, but allows Hurts to get up the middle. On this next one, this is one of my favorite ones. He's going to take DeMarcus Lawrence inside, and then he's going to recover to Dorrance Armstrong crossing his face. I thought this was a really good job of passing off a two-man game in the middle. Now, Hurts ends up being sacked. This one wasn't on Steen. That's the one where he hurt his knee. And then you get him in the running game. He does a good job here displacing Chauncey Golson. I thought number 99, he's able to, look at the push that he gets here. He gives the running back the opportunity to take it outside. He cuts it back inside, but either way, you get a pretty good play. There's another example here of him blocking Osa Odigizua, number 97, and he blocks him out of the play. He gets him off to the side and is able to shield him off and open up a running lane. And then the final one I'll show here is him getting to the second level, targeting Marquise Bell, the linebacker, number 14. Gets up to the second level and does a good job locking onto him. So I thought what I saw generally reflected what PFF said in terms of, I thought he did pretty good in the running game. I thought there were some struggles in the passing game. It says a little bit about my sickness as a film nerd that I just watched an entire game and made a video for a guy that probably won't play again the rest of this season because we expect Cam Jurgens to come back. I think that Eagles fans can feel good about Tyler Steen if he has to step in again. You talk about trial by fire. Getting one-on-one with Micah Parsons in your first start. And by the way, he was a tackle playing right guard. I feel good about Steen if he needs to check in. Like if he had, there's an injury in a game, even, if Jordan Mailata were to go down and all of a sudden he's playing left tackle, like none of that's ideal, but I feel good about his potential as a backup this year and as a potential starter, pending however the Eagles shuffle their offensive line after we presume Jason Kelce retires after this year. I think he's a guy that you can count on. So I was down on Tyler Steen watching it live. It just looked like he was getting murdered every play. And going back and watching it, I thought he rebounded. Like you can watch from the Cowboys perspective, Terrence Steele wrecked their offense at right tackle. Now, granted, right guard's not on as much as an island. I thought Tyler Steen struggled at times, but it didn't wreck the Eagles offense. And so I think that's a testament to Jalen Hurts, Jason Kelsey, obviously helping him out at times, and to Tyler Steen. I thought he did a pretty good job in his first start against such a difficult assignment.
Yeah, fair enough. I'm not going to go into any great detail on Tyler Steen, mainly because of timing and because you pretty much covered everything there. I thought he was probably slightly better than you, but when you show a clip back, you can see there's a few maybe I missed where Hurts does bail him out a few times. The thing for me is what you said at the end, with backups, do they kill you? Are they okay or do they harm your offense? And you'd have to say this one does not harm the offense based on what we saw. They were fine. Biggest thing about Steen for me is he did not play a single snap of guard in college. And I remember this because I remember watching him quite closely after the Eagles drafted him. And that really surprised me because his arm length and his size doesn't scream tackle to me. And I don't think I watched this game and thought, oh, he's going to play tackle in the future. I think he could quite reasonably be a guard. And I don't pretend I can judge offensive linemen's arm lengths from watching them play, but he doesn't look naturally big. He doesn't look like a giant wingspan. He doesn't look to me basically like a future starting tackle, not the size that he is. So I think he'll end up a guard. Some of you may remember, because it was one of my bad takes, I did actually predict he may start this year. I just had a feeling that he may play over Cam Jurgens just because of his sheer size in terms of strength. I thought he was okay. I thought he did a pretty good job. I was not particularly worried about him. I think he would be my starter over Sirapeta, and I'm pretty sure you agree with that. If Jurgens does go out again, what will be interesting is whether he can handle different positions as a backup, because he's gone from a tackle to a right guard, and I think expecting him to do other things as a backup might be quite tricky. Right, I'm going to get into my second one because I'm not going to talk actually too much about this because I spoke about it last week, and I hate to say like I got it right, but I said the Eagles offense. I basically looked at the Eagles run game in a lot of detail last week, and I think I got it right. Like, I think what I said pretty much was proved to be spot on in this game. And I described the Eagles run game as a zone run game built around a mobile quarterback who can't run. And that is exactly how it feels watching the Eagles run game right now. And I had a lot of questions like, what went wrong? And I watched every run snap. I mean, I watched every snap, but I watched the running game quite closely. There's nothing to go, oh, it's this, it's that. It just looks like the Eagles run game. They're not getting a great deal of push, but the Eagles don't often get a huge amount of push in the zone run game anyway. The reason that it's limiting the offense is that they're doing none of the cool QB stuff. QB draw was a cheat code last year. They averaged like 9 yards to carry on QB draw. They can't run it at all. QB counter bash, cheat code, can't run it. They're not running anything where the quarterback is basically carrying it. And you are now seeing edge defenders actually cheat down. And actually, Hurts did keep the ball once on a 3rd and 2, I believe, where Micah Parsons tackled him for a 4-yard gain. And he almost fell a bit awkwardly. And I was a bit like, oh, it was after halftime. And that's because Micah Parsons just did not respect Hurts. Like, he really did not think Hurts was going to keep it. I did not think Hurts wanted to keep that ball. So I don't think the Eagles run game is going to improve until Hurts can start running properly, because they are essentially a zone running game, and we look around the league and zone running games are being stopped easier than they used to be. This is not an outside zone league anymore where Shanahan's just running wide zone 50 times a game. What was fascinating, and you knew I was going to mention this because I tweeted it straight away and I mentioned this last week, was one of the things I said last week was changing their run game and going to a little bit more under center. And do they get Rashard Penny going? And what did we see? First snap after halftime, under center, Rashard Penny. I think it was a 6-yard gain. Second play he didn't do as well. It was only a 2-yard gain. But firstly, you see the difference for the angles it creates in the run game. You can see the offensive lineman in particular, but also the way the running back just gets ahead of steam. This is not a controversial take, and I hope it's not. I don't think DeAndre Swift is a workhorse back. Now, I think we've all gone a bit mad because DeAndre Swift had 1 or 2 really good weeks. I really like DeAndre Swift. He is at best, maybe a 15 carry back. I do not think you want him to carry the ball 20 times a game. He is not that type of runner. He is not built when the game gets tough. He is not built to wear down opponents. He definitely bounced it outside too often in this game. There were a couple of snaps I saw where he didn't follow blocks, and it wasn't even he's missed a huge hole. It was that, you know what? A bigger running back just puts his head down, runs into the defensive tackle, falls forward for 3 yards and gets 5 yards, whereas he was getting 2 or 3. The Eagles running game is still, I believe, a massive part of the offense. If Jalen Hurts isn't going to be healthy maybe all year, who knows, or they're not going to run him until maybe later on in the season when they feel he's 100% healthy, I do not believe they can just keep running split zone, outside zone, inside zone, and rely on that working. Because to be blunt, I think good defenses are going to stop it. And I think they're going to stop it quite consistently. So whether it's Rashard Penny, I mean, I had Trey Sermon crushed last year. He never played. We talk about my philosophy on this. I like bigger backs, and I get why the Eagles don't run with more heavy backs because they want their running back to be a receiving option as well. It's more unpredictable. I totally get that. But I think there is a role for a little bit more of a running game. I would like to see some power. I would like to see some tackle trap. I would like to see some QB counter bash if we can get back to it. I think the beauty is the Eagles have got a week off now, and they ran one play from under center. Now, I have no idea why they did one play, but some of this Eagles offense just makes me laugh because they do some weird things. I would love to know, why did you do it once and it worked and you never did it again? And it was straight after halftime. So you obviously spoke about it. Did Penny do something wrong? Did he like say something after the second run? I don't know. But know they're going to go back and self-scout. And I have a very strong feeling this is quite a basic Eagles running game, which is unusual for a Jeff Stoutland-led running attack. I think we might see something different after the bye week. And I'm excited about it because at the moment, they are heavily reliant on Jalen Hurts and AJ Brown, which is fine. But I want to be able to win games in a lot of different ways possible. And I want them to be able to run the clock out. And this game, they couldn't do that. When it got to the end of the game and they stopped throwing it and they said, right, 4 minutes on the clock, let's run a 4-minute drive. Last year, we saw run 5 yards, run 4 yards, run 4 yards. And they couldn't do it in this game. The offense could not seal the deal. And I think naturally this team wants to run the ball late in games. I think it's a reason why they're very good at the end of games. And I think the running game needs something different. Whether that is more Rashard Penny, whether that's more power, whether that's more gap scheme, it needs a little bit of something new. Because at the moment, and it's weird to say this, it feels very predictable. And it feels like the Cowboys didn't struggle too much stopping the Eagles run game this week.
Yeah, I thought of you when they came out from halftime and went under center the first play. I was terrified when they did that because we saw Hurts take the shot right before halftime and then limping off the sideline. When they came out and went under center and handed the ball off the first play, I thought Hurts is really hurt and the Eagles are about to run under center with Rashard Penny 20 times in the second half. Yes. And that didn't happen, but that was the first thought that went through my mind.
Just out of interest, did you think he moved a bit weirdly on the handoff as well? I watched it about 18 times because I was just obsessed with the idea of I love run game. Like different people have different things. I love run game, and that's why one reason why I like scouting the Eagles, and I want to see different things. And like I don't know where tackle trap's gone this year. I don't know where Wham's gone. I want to see a bit more. And he looked like he didn't really look very comfortable in the under center handoff. And whether that's one reason why they didn't do it, you do have to literally turn your back and hand it off. It's just weird, isn't it? Like one play. We're going to run one play under center, and it's going to work, and we're never going to do it again. Someone explain why. They obviously spoke about it at halftime. I couldn't tell you why they did that, but yeah, I had a feeling you'd think of me because it was quite funny that I literally mentioned it last week, and yeah, there we go. That is what I felt about the Eagles run game anyway.
Johnny is like, I want to watch Rashard Penny under center runs happen 15 times a game. And if it's the same play, if it's just the same play, repeating it 15 times because the Eagles only run it once, I'm going to do it anyways.
Yeah. So, hashtag run the ball. I'm not one of them. Don't worry. I'm not one of them. But,
yeah. I would like to see them flesh that out. We talked about it a little bit last week, why the Eagles choose to be shotgun and the issues that causes if your mobility goes away. And, we'll see how Hurts looks on Monday night after the bye. If you don't see Hurts running the ball with mobility in that game, I don't think you're going to see it again this year. Maybe if you get, to rest him in week 18 and you get a bye, so you get like that 3-week break, maybe you get another chance to get healthy, but you're not going to get healthier in the grind of playing games. So seeing how he looks is going to be paramount. I do hope we start to see a little bit more under center, especially with Rashard Penny, a guy that I was very high on. Part of me, I said in the offseason, bubble wrap Rashard Penny, break him out in December. I mean, we're getting close. I don't think that's what happened. I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but if the Eagles come out after the bye and they're handing the ball to Rashard Penny 15 times a game, and he's looking like DeAndre Swift in week 2 when he wasn't used week 1, I will fall out of my chair. Like, the most big brain thing ever if that was an intentional, conscious thing that they did. I really don't think it is, but it would be really funny.
It's definitely not. I'm sorry. I mean, I wish it was. I'm not. Let's very quickly wrap up this point too. Rashard Penny was incredibly good when healthy. I think people sort of forget, like, numbers are off the scale. Like, it's really weird. He's just not there. Now, if his body's just totally broken down, then fine, because he wasn't healthy anyway. But if he's still Rashard Penny, it's mad that he is sitting on the bench doing nothing. Like, the numbers when healthy are insanely good the past 2 years. It is sort of bizarre that he's doing nothing. Like behind Boston Scott and Kenny Gainwell. So surely at this point we need to see if there's something there. I know he gave an interview last week and said my explosion's not gone. I just haven't had a chance to show it. And yeah, I would like to know, but we need to move on because I've just realized we spent about, as we do on this podcast, 30 minutes talking about Tyler Steen, run game, and a bit of tight end. So that sums us up really. We haven't even got to the defense where we're going to go mad today. So right, let's get on to our third point. I'll tell you what, I'll start. Because I'll start with Jalen Hurts, and then you can go on to a specific concept you want to speak about, a specific concept, sorry. So I just was so impressed with Jalen Hurts in this game, as I think everyone was. And I said it last week, or possibly the week before, you can take away his mobility now, and he's just flat out good. Like, he is just a flat out good cornerback. And shout out to the guy in charge of BGN Social, who I still speak to about the game, very knowledgeable, Tyler Jackson, who tweeted me a really interesting point. And he was saying he wonders if long-term this Hurts injury is going to help him, because he's having to sit in the pocket more and he's having to realize that he can actually play from the pocket alone. And it could be that ends up being beneficial for his long-term development. The accuracy, the processing speed, the ball placement, it's just all there. Like, he's just there. He's just really good. And as someone who's doubted him early on in his career, I never saw this coming. And you've already shown the example of Crash. There's just two examples I want to talk about. The first one was on a third down. It's clip 3 on my timeline if you're watching. So it's a third down. The Cowboys run one of the weirdest rotations ever, where it looks like single high. And then one of their defenders is almost lined up in the box, goes sprinting back. And you'll see it on the clip. He turns around and runs back as if he's basically just getting to his half of the field. And the single high safety goes sprinting off to the left. So they end up in a 2-high shell. And this means the throw to A.J. Brown isn't there. Now, Hurts processes all of this, and he realizes, right, we're running a sort of drive concept, which is like a high-low. Again, loads of fancy names for it. But essentially a shallow crossing route and a deep intermediate, whatever you want to call it, over, dig, whatever. And he reads this out. He processes it perfectly. And he fits this ball into the smallest window. And when you see it from the backside view, it is not a big window. It is such a... And when you think of Jalen Hurts over time, what has he been criticized for? Processing speed. Right, he's done that. Bailing from the pocket when his first read's not open. Okay, proven that wrong. And also throwing over the middle field. Now he's lasering throws through defenders straight between linebackers in a high-low concept. Like, that throw to me was as good as a throw I think I've seen from Jalen Hurts. And I really, really liked it because it did everything that I've spoken about in previous weeks in terms of, or previous years, about where Hurts needs to improve. And then we get Devontae Smith's touchdown. So play 6 on my thread. And I mean, what can you say about this play? The way it's a very, very good, it's like a hitch and go by Devontae Smith, but the ball placement and the pocket movement is as high level as it gets. Like, this is old school pocket quarterback. There is nothing about this that reminds me of like a quarterback who wants to run. He takes his drop, sets his feet perfectly, steps up in the pocket to get a little bit of space. And when you see the ball placement, it is perfect. You could not put it in a better position away from the cornerback. He is as good as it gets in the league about throwing this vertical ball. And I've seen some of the stats you've been tweeting out about, you could argue he's been the number 1 quarterback in the league this year. I think NFL QB Index, which I read quite a lot, has him number 2 this year. Actually, that was last week. Possibly he's been bumped up again. I think sort of we take it for granted because I almost can't believe it myself. And I think we've gone through Carson Wentz and we've seen that, maybe he's going to regress. But Hurts is a different dude. He's just a different guy. He's very different in how he conducts himself. I just have not got enough good things to say about how Jalen Hurts can play from the pocket now. And it's really, really impressive. He's 25 years old, and some of the things he's doing out there is high level. And it makes you wonder how good he's going to get, because the sky feels like the limit. And if his mobility can come back and he can start adding to the run game, there's almost an argument that the Eagles should maybe start considering building as much of a run game without Hurts, because I don't want Hurts taking that many shots anymore. He is not someone who needs to run to succeed. And obviously you want mobile quarterbacks who can escape and create plays out of structure. That is a given in 2023. You need that in the NFL. That's why I'm not taking Mac Jones in the first round of a modern day NFL draft ever. But saying all that, he wins from the pocket. Like, he does it the right way. Wins from the pocket, create when you need to. I watched Josh Allen, the Buffalo Bills offense, struggling. And when they're struggling, Josh Allen just goes full hero, run, run, run. And I don't want Hurts doing that, really. He's such a good pocket quarterback now. If he can just add a little bit more mobility to help out with a run game, then that's huge. But yeah, I just don't think we should take for granted how good he's playing, basically. I just looked at the notes, and were you going to break down the same concept that I broke down for my first play, or was it a different one?
No, it's that one, and I'll still get into it, but I want to touch a little bit more on. I tweeted this out. You guys can find this on my Twitter. True drop back pocket passing stats. So this is pocket passes from inside the pocket, and true drop back means we're removing play action, RPOs, and screens. So all kind of crutches that help your quarterback. We're looking purely dropping back in the pocket and throwing the pass. I've got a charts every quarterback with over 50 throws this year. You can go look at it. But Jalen Hurts ranks first in QB rating, first in completion percentage, second in touchdown percentage, third in EPA per play, third in success rate, first in boom rate, which is plays that generate more than one EPA, so essentially explosive plays, and first in bust rate, which is plays that generate -1 or more, less than -1 EPA, so essentially really negative plays. There is no other quarterback in the NFL that ranks top 10 in each of those categories, and Hurts is 1, 2, or 3 in all of them.
That's insane.
And about his mobility over the last 3 weeks of the season, right? When they have not been designing runs for him because he's banged up. He trails only Kirk Cousins, who missed a game, is out for the season in terms of EPA per play. He's almost lapping Patrick Mahomes in EPA per play. He leads the league in EPA plus completion percentage over expectation. Like, Hurts has been on a heater the last 3 weeks, and he's done it without one of his greatest weapons that makes it easier on it. And we've spoken about before how Hurts' legs make this so much easier for him. They're gone, and he's still making it look easy. And so I'll briefly talk on this play. You talked about it as well. I think this is the best instance of post-snap processing I've seen from Hurts this year.
Yeah.
Our concept of the week this week is drive. You can call it drive, levels, high-low, whichever way you want. The Cowboys show a single high safety, and so you're immediately thinking vertical route to A.J. Brown. But at the snap of the ball, the safety that's down covering the point man in the bunch turns and bails. And so Hurts sees this immediately. He sees this safety coming over Brown and knows something has to be going on here. That's not open. So we get the shallow route from Dallas Goedert and this deep dig route from Devonta Smith. And for him to come off this first read, the first read is going to A.J. Brown here. He comes off of that, stands in the pocket, reads the curl defender, and when he comes down on the low route to Dallas Goedert, he delivers it over the top to Devonta Smith. And again, that you can call this drive, you can call it levels, you can call it high-low. Either way, we're reading number 14. As soon as he steps to Goedert, he just steps up and lets it rip. And that's a beautiful throw. I'll put the clip out. Johnny's got it out. You guys can see what we're talking about later. But I can't say enough how great of a decision-making process that was by Hurts. Seeing the defense change the picture post-snap, recognizing something was wrong, and getting to his secondary read, his secondary high-low concept. So that was incredible stuff. I was really impressed by that throw with Jalen Hurts.
Yeah, and I do get a lot of comments about learning about the game. We say this every week, but I've seen people call that shadow cross dig, call it drive, call it levels, call it high-low. It doesn't matter. Loads of concepts, basically. When you get a zone, a lot of concepts the Eagles run, they're very good at this, is they'll run 2 plays. So they'll almost have 2 plays on separate side of the field. They want a man and a zone beater. And it's quarterback's decision. When you get zone, best thing you want to do is flood areas or run a high-low. That's basically classic. If they've only got 2 zone defenders to the right hand side, send 3 defenders that way. Sail, flood, 3-level stretch. The other thing you can do is if it's cover 2, you can run a high-low and try and hit that gap between the middle linebacker and the safety. When the Eagles get man coverage, single high, let it fly, they will often just take a vertical shot to AJ Brown, as we saw on 3rd and 3. So you're bang on. He is definitely reading AJ Brown there, and pre-snap, that is correct. And sometimes some quarterbacks are almost too good pre-snap. Dak Prescott is someone that I think is too good pre-snap, where sometimes he'll throw to a receiver and you'll think, why is he throwing it to him? And it's because pre-snap, that's the look he wants. Hurts is really good there at identifying that is not going to work against cover 2 man. You do not want to throw a deep shot, against cover 2 zone, because you get the worst of both worlds. You get the overhead safety and you get the cornerback underneath who can change it. Post-snap, read that. Then you've got to check the depth of linebacker. Then you've got to wait for Devontae Smith to come open, because it's not an easy, or it's a slow developing play. It's just a great ball, and it's a really, really high level throw. Jalen Hurts, of his rookie year, if you told me he's completing that, he wasn't completing like smash. He wasn't reading cover 2 and throwing it over the cornerback's head when they were wide open. And now he's eliminating what's not there and getting back to his second. I hate talking about read, second, third read. I don't care. If you count AJ Brown as a post-snap read, then it's not his first read. So I don't really care about that. But just eliminating what I think he was going to do first of all, and then getting back to what actually is there against that coverage. It doesn't get any better. It literally doesn't get any better from a pocket quarterback position.
Absolutely. And single high, let it fly is my favorite football adage. My second favorite football adage is cornerbacks lie, but safeties tell the truth. And that's why, you open that throw. He's not looking at the cornerback to see if AJ Brown beats him. He's watching the safety, because cornerbacks lie. The cornerbacks can do funky things with their coverage to make it look different. The safeties tell you everything you need to know. And as soon as that safety goes to Brown, he knows this isn't what we thought. This is not a single high coverage. This isn't cover 1 man or cover 3 zone. They're spinning coverage here. I need to get to the backside, because I've got a concept that beats that in drive levels, high, low, whatever you want to call it, coming across. And he does a great job.
Yeah, and final thing, because then we really do need to get to the defense. But the way the Cowboys disguise that coverage is really good as well. It's a really well disguised cover too. Like, that cornerback looks like he's in man coverage with Devontae Smith. He really does not look like he's playing as a deep safety. So that is not an easy post-snap read. That is a tricky one. Young quarterbacks will take a few seconds to figure out what's going on. You haven't got that in the NFL. He eliminates that outside receiver quickly. Like, he is reading that thing fast. He's processing at a really high level right now.
Yeah, absolutely. So that'll do it for our offensive takeaways. We're going to throw it to a quick break, and then we'll be back to talk about the defense. Stay tuned. We are back here on the Shane page, turning the page from the offense to the defensive side of the ball. We're each going to give you 3 takeaways from the defense. Johnny, I'll let you lead us off here. What was your first takeaway on the defense?
Right, so we're going to give a random player, do I say shout out? I don't even know. I have no idea how to describe Zach Cunningham in this game. Like, he had some of the best plays and some of the worst plays. I think I like him because he plays with his heart on his sleeve and he plays everything 100 miles an hour. And you've heard me talk about run game. I've also got a bit of a soft spot for anyone who can play the run, because I just don't like getting beat by the run game. So let's look at 2 reps to sort of sum up, or a few plays you're going to show us sum up Zach Cunningham. Against the run, he is so aggressive. So this one, I actually nearly tweeted out. I saved it. The way he plays this, and also the strength to push Tony Pollard out of bounds. There were other plays he had later on in the game where the aggressiveness, the aggressive nature of his game is so good against the run. It sort of doesn't get any better. And the obvious play that I'm assuming everyone's seen, I'm assuming you're going to tee it up at some point as well. It's number 8, I believe, on my thread, is when he prevents the TD by hitting Dak Prescott, who's trying to escape. That is a big time play. Like, touchdown there changes the game completely. And he reads that really well. He diagnoses it quickly. If you're watching on the screen, you can see the video clip here. Dak actually does a good job, I think, getting out of pocket when nothing's open. And a lot of quarterbacks score a touchdown there, because Darius Slay is not a particularly good run defender. The strength that Cunningham has, like, he's got a big upper body. He takes on linemen and they feel him when he stacks them. And here, this is not easy. Dak is not a small dude. That is a touchdown. Like, it looks like a touchdown. then you have snaps where, oh my goodness, was he bad in coverage this game? I mean, like, the Eagles didn't do him any favors. And don't get me wrong, we're going to talk about Sean Desire. We're going to talk about some of the personnel decisions in this game. When he was in man coverage, I burst out laughing at one snap. He tried to press everyone. He was either killing the receivers and they were falling down or stumbling, or they were just walking past him. I could show so many, but I won't. So I'm going to show the last play of the game, if you don't mind. So clip 11 on my screen. And then I know you're going to do something on a little bit more of general clips. So I'm going to talk a lot about this play for a number of different reasons. But on the final play, Zach Cunningham literally is in a press man on the tight end. He just stands there and tries to smash him. Like, there is zero coverage technique here in the slightest. There's nothing. It would be like what you'd got to do if there was somebody who's never played football before and you said, right, just go there and smash him at the line of scrimmage. He's not talking about like George Kittle here. It's what Jake Ferguson or whoever. Like, that is not good enough. So I'm a little bit lost with what the hell the Eagles do with Cunningham, because he might be their best linebacker at the moment, which is a bit depressing, but I think he probably is. He's also their most reliable. But he has some reps in pass coverage in this game where you go, what is going on? The good news is, I think I have a plan anyway for Zach Cunningham. And I think we're going to get to it later on when we talk about personnel and Sean Desire. The simple truth is he should not be asked to do that ever. So as long as he's not asked to do that, then I think we'll be okay. I'll let you fire off some plays about Zach Cunningham, because I know you had a few takes as well. I know he's someone you watched a bit more closely than me. So anything in particular that I missed, or anything in particular you wanted to share a light on in terms of Zach Cunningham's play?
Yeah, this particular play is one that I really liked of his. He's going to carry the tight end up the seam here, and he's going to be targeted. He does a lot better job. He's inside. He uses the backside or the back end of the end zone to help him as a defender. Doesn't get his head around. You don't really expect a linebacker to do that, but generally, I think Zach Cunningham coming downfield is great as a run defender. He had a few plays where he like sniffed out screens. Obviously, the play where he turned Dak into a helicopter is a lot of fun. Here's another view of that one. There's some issues. Like, there's one play earlier where he's got some communication issues with Dak or with James Bradbury. Here you see him coming downhill in the screen game. But this was a play early in the game where he has some communication issues with Bradbury. Like, if you watch him he starts to follow. He goes the wrong way, and then he chases this guy, and Bradbury's jumping up and down, like waving his hands. There's some issues in coverage there, I think, at times. There's also some issues of the Eagles putting him in situations he absolutely cannot win, and we're going to get to that. I think when he's in the run game, he's a huge plus. In the pass game, some plays he will like send the tight end into the shadow realm, and other plays he will whiff completely. Generally, I think he's a plus player. I do think good offenses are going to be able to target him. I think, tight ends are going to continue to be a problem for the Eagles, which isn't great when you are about to chase Travis Kelce into Dalton Kincaid. But I enjoy watching Zach Cunningham overall. I just wish there was like a really good coverage linebacker to pair him with, and the Eagles don't really have that right now. So I'll have a full all 20. I'm planning to do a full all 22 video on Zach Cunningham, and I'll talk a lot more in depth there where I can use a whole bunch of plays. But generally, I thought he was good in this game. I don't think he's as good as PFF said he was, or as Eagles fans think he was, because of his leading the team in tackles. Generally, he was a positive in this game, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think literally I am the same. He's a funny player, man. I think I said to you by text, he's all or nothing. In coverage, he's all or nothing. It's either, wow, this is a great press, and the guy is falling over and stumbling, or he's beat by 10, 15 yards. I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to link my second and third point together. So I'm going to throw it back to you, because my final two takeaways I'm going to go on a massive rant and talk about, and they're very linked together. Talk about Reed Blankenship, because I loved Reed Blankenship until the last 2 weeks. You watched him closely this week, and we're going to try and do that every week, by the way. If there's certain players you want us to watch, tweet me on a Monday, because I get to the film as early as I can, or tweet Shane, and we might try and mix it up. So this week, for example, we said we'd both look at Cunningham, but you said you were going to look at Reed Blankenship in particular. So that's something we can add to this podcast as well. Give us a tweet and we can focus on it. We can't hit everyone in one episode. It's not possible because NFL takes so long to watch it in depth. So what did you see from Blankenship? And I'm interested to hear your thoughts, because I didn't watch him as closely as you did this week.
I thought Blankenship did a pretty good job in this game. I thought last week he struggled. I wasn't watching him as closely last week. I thought he did a really good job this week. I've got 5 plays here that I'm going to show. The first one is the opening drive of the game, and he draws CeeDee Lamb in the slot and man coverage. More on that in a minute. I think he does a pretty good job. Does he get away with a little bit of like a hold or a DPI at the top of the route stem here? Yes. No flag? I don't care. He gets the Eagles off the field on their opening drive. Later in the game, this is down in the red zone. The Cowboys score a touchdown. They motion CeeDee Lamb across the formation, and Eli Ricks travels with him. And so James Bradbury has to replace him in some of the responsibilities here. So you see him walking down towards the line. And this is just going to be a little like, I don't know if it's RPO, if it's a play action. I think it's an RPO, little slant flat. And Blankenship's too slow to get out. And Ferguson gets in for the touchdown. That becomes important because we're going to see it later on. So file that play away. We're going to come back to it. This third rep is another one where he has to play CeeDee Lamb in the slot, and he's doing it from depth. This is also a really bad Zach Cunningham play, by the way. If you're watching Zach Cunningham, totally ignore the tight end. Let's just watch that first. Zach Cunningham has man coverage responsibilities on the tight end, who is running up the seam, waving his arm because Zach Cunningham decided to be a hole defender. I don't know what he's doing there, but coming down from safety, I mean, he's looking like a split field high safety, and he comes down to cover CeeDee Lamb. And I think he does a good job on this pivot route, and he gets a hand on the ball. Should CeeDee Lamb catch that? Yes. Reed Blankenship still gets a finger on it, and it breaks that pass up. I thought that's as good as you can ask a safety from deep coverage there. So you can see it from the back view. He dives and gets just enough on it to make that be a drop. On this next one, they're playing cover 3, and he's the center field safety. And I would like to see him step down a little faster to this tight end on the post route, but he still is able to get there and impact the catch point, and the ball comes out. But what I really loved is we get down here in a crucial situation. This is a 4th and goal, and it's going to be the exact same play. There's no motion this time. 2x2 set. Tight end is just not attached to the line. He's going to run the little flat route. You get the play fake, throwing it to the tight end in the flat. Yes, he runs his route a little short, but look how much quicker Reed Blankenship breaks on it this time. He doesn't play the run at all. And it's a catch. It's a difficult catch, but he's able to keep him out of the end zone. So that was a really encouraging one for me to see him recognize a mistake he made earlier in the game and fix it in a crucial 4th and goal situation. I really liked what I saw from Reed Blankenship this week. I definitely thought he was the best safety on the field. I thought he played better than Kevin Byard. And, you know, seeing him bounce back from a rough week against Washington was really good to see.
Yeah, I was very close to doing a Kevin Byard segment this week. I didn't because I still want to give him a little bit of time to settle because I think he's playing a totally different role, totally different team. So we need a little bit more time. He didn't have the best game, Kevin Byard. I'm going to get back to him. Just quickly before I get to my point, Shane, the Cowboys touchdown where you rightly pointed out that Reed Blankenship was slow to get out. I must admit, I watched this a few times, and I don't think he has a choice. So I think this is one of those examples where actually I'm not blaming him at all. And maybe I'm wrong. Again, I say this every week, but we do not know the calls of these plays. But if you watch it again, this is a play where Nolan Smith is on the field, and they like using Nolan Smith in goal line situations, which is quite strange. And Nolan Smith is obviously told to basically go inside. So what often happens, you call it a scrape exchange, call it whatever you want, you'll get the edge defender going inside, and then if the quarterback was to say keep it, linebacker, safety, or whatever would have outside. I think Blankenship, and again, I do not know, I think Blankenship's responsibility here is actually as a run fit for almost like an edge defender, because Nolan Smith is not playing Dak at all. He almost gets near him because he's a really good athlete, but he's not playing him. So I don't think Reed Blankenship has a choice but to take a step down in the run game. So I really see that as just sometimes on defense, they call it a perfect play for your perfect defense. I think that's what happens there more than anything. And I think the difference on that play later is that Joshua is not getting inside as much. He's attacking the edge defender. I don't think Blankenship has as much of a run fit on that play. And again, say this every week, I don't know because I'm not in the room, but that would be my interpretations. Actually, that's quite positive because that was the one maybe bad play we mentioned. I think you can possibly say actually that wasn't even a negative against him so much. I don't know if you agree with that. Yeah.
You can also get a bit into guessing tendencies on 4th and 2. Cowboys are pretty unlikely to run it out of shotgun
There
into
you
your
go.
5-man front. So there can even be a little bit of schematic guessing going on there. Even if he had a responsibility, you probably don't maybe play the most technically sound there, and you just bail out of it playing tendencies as well.
Yeah. Right. I have waited since 24 hours to have this moment and speak about my next point. So I'm going to go on one a little bit. And I don't like moaning about coaches because coaches know far more than I do. They know their players better than I do. I have no idea what the Eagles were doing this week in pass coverage on a lot of snaps. And I'm going to be fair. CeeDee Lamb is excellent and Dak Prescott is excellent. I don't think Dak maybe is a top 5 like some people say, but I think he's quite clearly 8th, 9th or whatever. He's got some limitations, but he's very good. I think this is a great example of seeing what your defensive coordinator is like, because in my opinion, the Cowboys offense biggest problem is that they've got one dude. We've got 3 in terms of Smith, got an AJ Brown. It seems to me like you stop CeeDee Lamb, they don't have much else. Like Tony Pollard doesn't give you much these days. He clearly is not a foundation back. He's actually a good example of somebody who is much better as a role player. Then you've got Jalen Tolbert. I mean, Gallup. I mean, Brandon. There's not a lot there. So this game is all about stopping one man. And that one man went for 11 for 191.
Career high in reception yards or receiving.
And there you go. And there you go. And I want to talk just a little bit more about structurally about what the Eagles defense does. So a little bit of scheme nerds out there. The Eagles defense last year was boringly good on 3rd down. They were a zone-heavy defense. They played zone match. And when the Eagles got Sean Desart, it was basically, it's another Fangio guy. It's carrying on what they do. I see like no element to Vic Fangio in this defense, like except for the post-snap rotation. It's their match zone is not really a match zone. When they go cover 3, it looks much more like cover 3. Yes, they play some quarter half, but I didn't see a great deal of it in this game either. They play so much man coverage. And it's funny because every Eagles fan in the offseason, myself included, by the way, was saying, press man, yes, we need some more man coverage. Because I was thinking, this team can play a lot of man coverage. When you've got Maddox, Slay, Bradbury, they can't right now. Bradbury's not playing very well. Slay is fine, but he's not an elite cornerback who can match up one-on-one as much. And they lost Maddox, and they haven't got a slot defender currently. And when Bradley Roby comes back, let's be honest, we're crossing our fingers, but we still don't really know if he's going to be good enough. So I want to go on about 2 different things here. My second and third takeaway I'm going to combine this week because I can. It's our podcast. We're going to combine them. Man coverage and personnel because they go hand in hand. They were my 3 points. The Eagles had the Eagles had a couple of plays earlier on. So first 4th down of the game, play 1 on my film thread. It's 4th and 1. So I get it. They're not expecting a deeper route from CeeDee Lamb, but it's just Eli Ricks on him in the slot. Like, yes, I saw some people say, are they not bracketing him with a deep safety? I don't think they are. I think that's straight up cover. That's just cover 1. The deep safety ends up running over to CeeDee Lamb because he's wide open and because he runs straight past Eli Ricks. And without Reed Blankenship, by the way, another good play by Reed, that's a touchdown. Yes, they're not expecting that on 4th and 1, but if you're going to go heavy man coverage, why are we asking Eli Ricks to play CeeDee Lamb one-on-one? James Bradbury gets absolutely burned, by the way, by Michael Gallup at the bottom of the screen. So you don't want to see that either. It wasn't just that snap, though. Then later on, there was a 3rd and 14. This is play 3 on my snap as well. 3rd and 14. Right, 2-man. I'm all right with 2-man. 2-man's a really good coverage for late downs because you can get an extra safety on him. But they're not keying CeeDee Lamb at all. This is just straight up 2-man. Now, it's a hell of a throw and catch by Dak Prescott, throw by Dak Prescott, catch by CeeDee Lamb. But you end up getting like Darius Slay getting the safety help because of the route from the receiver on the post, which means once again, you've got Eli Ricks totally one-on-one. And by the way, do not look at Zach Cunningham in one-on-one coverage in the middle of the field. Like it is wide open.
I'm going to talk about that in a minute.
Yeah, wide open. Like I have no idea what they're doing here. And I'm actually going to come back to this play later to talk about my 3rd point. I'm going to give you one more example. There's one more example later on as I look. No, there's not. I'm going to scrap that. We're not going to talk about man coverage anymore. I'm going to talk about personnel. So do you know what? Roll the same play. This is good podcasting. I want to know what the Eagles do with their personnel. Why do we not have a dime package or a big nickel package? I am at a bit of a loss about what we are doing. So 3rd and 14. Everyone's played Madden. It's 3rd and 14. You are playing 2-man. Okay. The Eagles have Zach Cunningham on the field still, and the Kobe Dean on the field still. Zach Cunningham is covering a wide receiver, which is what you're going to talk about, I bet. There is no motion here. There's no disguise. There's no late motion. This is straight up. We're playing 2-man with 2 linebackers on the field. Why? Why do we need 2 linebackers on the field? And you might say, oh, well, the Eagles are really injured. The Eagles have got Sidney Brown. Sidney Brown can play. And actually, Sidney Brown is probably big enough to play dime linebacker if you really want. Mm-hmm. And they've got Josh Jobe, who is perfectly fine. So stick Josh Jobe on the outside, and then says Darius Slay, go and follow CeeDee Lamb. If you're going to play man coverage, at least use personnel that allows you to do it. If you're going to play 2-man on 3rd and 14, put more cornerbacks out there. Like, I really struggle because you're not, sometimes you can say, oh, the cornerback can't do like a hook curl flat. I get that in the middle of the field. This is not that. This is straight up man coverage. This is 2-man. Why do you need Zach Cunningham and the Kobe Dean on the field at once? Now, what the Eagles did do, I'm going to give Sean Desire some credit, is they recognized that this was absolutely not working. So then later on, there was a 3rd down and they went to more zone. If you play clip 5 of mine here, this is the Eagles of last year. This is just straight up quarters zone match. Play 4 on 3 on one side, play 3 on 2 on the other side, rally to the ball, tackle. The other thing that zone gives you here is you don't get matchups. Because when you play like 3 over 2 and 4 over 3, you don't get Zach Cunningham covering one-on-one a receiver. You don't get CeeDee Lamb on Eli Ricks. It's much more of a team game. People got bored of this last year. I never did. I loved the Eagles zone match on 3rd down. They were so good at it. I've seen James Bradbury do it. I've seen Darius Slade do it. I've seen Blankenship do it. Yes, Kevin Byard is new, but I'm sure he'll be okay at zone match. In fact, I think actually when I watch Kevin Byard, he's not as great in man as people think. And he's a better zone defender as well. So I don't understand why they're not playing more zone on 3rd and long. When they do play man coverage, why have they got 2 linebackers on the field on 3rd and 14? I don't need to see 2 linebackers. They even had 2 linebackers at the end of the game when the Cowboys have got like 10 seconds left to score a touchdown. There is no chance they're running. I'm watching it thinking, am I insane? Is Josh Jobe, is he terrible now? Like, I've seen him play fine. And the last one I'm going to mention before I go insane, the Eagles did adjust, but it took till the 2nd to last drive and they moved Darius Slay and he followed CeeDee Lamb and it just looked better. Yes, Darius Slay will get beat by CeeDee Lamb, but you know what? I can accept it. If Darius Slay loses to CeeDee Lamb a couple of times, I'm all right. I'm not going to come on here on my own. You put your position, your players in a chance to win. You put your best cornerback, who's paid a lot of money, against their best receiver. So if you look at clip 11, I thought this was the best thing they did. It was the 4th down play when everyone moaned about James, or the Cowboys fan went, why are we throwing to Tolbert against Bradbury? Well, the reason why they did it was because actually they do bracket CeeDee Lamb on this play. And they don't just bracket him, they bracket him with their best cornerback. And by the way, this was not the only snap he moved around. Darius Slay later on did move around. So my huge question is, we're not going to talk about Zach Cunningham again in this play because he is completely burned on 4th down. And yes, the Eagles still, I'm going insane, Shane, they still have Nicholas Moreau and Zach Cunningham out there when it's 4th and long and they're never running the ball. But anyway, let's move on. You could literally just take off Zach Cunningham and put Sidney Brown on that play and you're completely fine. But anyway, why does it take till about the 2nd to last drive or 3rd to last drive to put Darius Slay on CeeDee Lamb? Why, when they play man coverage, are they leaving 2 linebackers on the field? Which means that when the Cowboys put 3 or 4 wide receivers out there, you're naturally getting a linebacker and a wide receiver. It's easy. It's so easy. I mean, there was other snaps. I could talk more about this game. I just didn't get the emphasis on man coverage. I didn't get the role of the linebackers in man coverage, and I didn't get the lack of attention paid to CeeDee Lamb. I know the Eagles have plays in their playbook. We have spoke about them doubling up Cooper Kupp and bracketing him more. We saw them bracket Justin Jefferson. I know they're in the playbook. I know they're coached how to do it. Why was it not in the game plan this week? That's what I can't figure out. I think I saw 2 or 3 snaps where they bracketed CeeDee Lamb. That was about it all game. I may have missed some, but I think 2 or 3. And I to be honest, off the top of my head, I think it was 2. But I'm going to say 3 because I'm assuming I missed one because everyone does. And you can count 2-man if you want as a safety over the top. But actually, it didn't end up being a bracket because the safety ended up doubling Brandon Cooks. We've got Darius Slay and Kevin Byard on Brandon Cooks and Eli Ricks on CeeDee Lamb one-on-one and Zach Cunningham on another receiver. It drove me a little bit insane this week. And I like what Sean Desai's done this year. I like the future of the defense. I'm not going to go mental and say everything's burning down and the gif of the guy sitting in a house with the flames around him. I'm not going to deal with that this week. I just think the Eagles need to look at their bye week and they need to self-scout their use of man coverage and their personnel packages. And they really do need to consider how are they using certain players in man coverage. If they're going to be a press man heavy defense on third and long, get some corners on the field. I'm going to shut up that defense now, Shane, and you can finish us off this week.
Yeah, I'm going to talk about the defense too, because my last point is about Sean Desai. It's about their personnel usage, their game planning. You talked a lot about the game plan. So I want to talk about personnel. And I've got 5 plays here that I want to show. The first one I've already shown once. It's a good play by Reed Blankenship. On the first third down of the game, why are you allowing Dallas to get CeeDee Lamb one-on-one with Reed Blankenship? Like, Reed Blankenship wins this rep. Reed Blankenship loses this rep 90% of the time. I don't understand that at all. That should never happen. Put Darius Slay on him. I didn't understand the freeness with which they allowed Dallas to get their best receiver on a UDFA safety or a UDFA cornerback when they have 2 top 15 paid cornerbacks in the NFL. And granted, Darius Slay, I think Darius Slay's been fine this year. I think James Bradbury has really struggled. Put Darius Slay on CD. Like, when they play, and you can't do it every play, maybe you want to pick your spots with it, and I'm fine with that. Pick a spot sometime before the fourth quarter would be nice. The second one, you talked about this play, and this one's unfortunate for Eli Ricks because I think he's got really good coverage on CeeDee Lamb, but Dak's able to break the pocket and get the ball to him anyways. It's 3rd and 14. They're not going to run the ball. And like you said, it's 10 personnel, 4 wide receivers, but the Eagles are in nickel. And I mean, look at Zach Cunningham in the slot. He's on a receiver. This looks really bad. Then you remember this is a receiver he's supposed to be trying to cover. Why Dak doesn't hit him, I have no idea. But that should never happen, especially on 3rd and long like that. We've got another one here. This time it's Kevin Byard against CeeDee Lamb in the slot from off coverage. Like, what kind of a position are you putting Kevin Byard in to succeed if he's playing 9 yards off of CeeDee Lamb and he's got to be able to defend these 2-way goes? He's got no chance here. CeeDee Lamb sits down, breaks back over the middle, easy pickup of first down. There's another one where they put CeeDee Lamb in the backfield, and this was a cool play design. This is not the first time CeeDee Lamb has been in the backfield this season, and you know what they've never done? They've never handed the ball off to him. So you know this is a pass play. Don't get Zach Cunningham isolated on CeeDee Lamb in coverage out of the backfield. But the worst one, the most egregious one, is we get down to the goal line at the end of the game. The Cowboys are in empty, right? They do have a tight end on the field, but this is 10 personnel. Time is running out. They are not running the football from the 12-yard line. And the Eagles are in nickel. And they put Zach Cunningham in the slot against Cavante Turpin. You know, the fast guy that almost ran back 2 kicks for a touchdown? Yeah, Zach Cunningham, you go cover him one-on-one. And Turpin cooks him on this route. And thankfully, Josh Sweat bails this out because this should be ball game. Look how wide open this is. Like, that's the easiest throw you can ever make if the protection holds up. It is wide open. And there is no excuse for that. There is no excuse to have Zach Cunningham on the field here. This should have lost them the game. Like, this is what people should be calling into WIP to complain about this week because the Eagles lost to the Cowboys. That Sean Desai, on 10 seconds left in the game from the 12-yard line, decided that having Zach Cunningham covering a slot receiver was a good idea. And what even makes this worse, I have a theory. And my theory is, you know, Jalen Carter jumps off sides. He gets an encroachment before this play that moved the Cowboys forward, and then the Cowboys got a false start that moved them back. That whole sequence. I suspect that Jalen Carter might have jumped off sides on purpose. You had Darius Slay go down. You've had James Bradbury go down. You're reeling. I really think Jalen Carter might have pulled a vet move and jumped off sides. There's no timeouts. Just to wait. Like, does it really matter with 10 seconds left if the ball is on the 8-yard line versus the 4-yard line? I really don't think it does. You're probably not going to run anyways. If you're the Eagles, you probably desperately want Dallas to run anyways. But when he jumped off sides, both James Bradberry and Darius Slay were off the field. When they come back, those guys are on the field. That means you took Josh Jobe off the field. You took Sidney Brown off the field. Leave one of those guys out there. Like, I would understand if Slay and Bradberry were both still hurt and you're just so shorthanded at cornerback. You're coming off of 2 penalties here. Your full roster is available to you. Put Sidney Brown in that slot. Don't have Zach Cunningham in the slot. And they're comfortable playing Sidney Brown. They played him off and on throughout the game. I didn't understand it. I thought it was horrific personnel usage by Sean Desai, and it should have cost the Eagles this football game.
Yeah, I'm going to finish it here, and then I'll let you do the old outro because I'm going to go a little bit insane. The only thing I would say, and I don't like to criticize coaches too much, but I've said many a time before because they know way more than me. I would assume that they've had too much to work with this year, and I'm not defending him, by the way. This is just my rational take of trying to think of what the hell was going on. With injuries, with new players, they basically don't have a dime package right now. That's the only thing I can assume. I can literally assume it's not in the playbook. In terms of when they're game planning, it's not there. I haven't seen like a dollar package, 6 DBs or whatever. If it's there and they see the Cowboys go out in 10 personnel with 4 receivers and they know they're playing man coverage and they choose to play nickel, then I'm long-term concerned because that suggests that basically Desai is one of those coaches that this is my way, this is how we play, I want 2 linebackers on the field. And if you're ever stuck to a philosophy like that in football, other teams will pick it up quickly and expect to see a hell of a lot of 4 wide receiver sets with teams who have got 4 wide receivers. Again, not every team does. Not every team runs a lot of 4 wide receiver sets, but the Eagles have got to really self-scout the way they do things on defense and pass coverage, in particular with that nickel package. And I'm hopeful that when we come back after the bye, we're going to see a little bit more of it. But I'm going to leave it there because I could say more. I will say more in the article, but hopefully that's given everyone a little bit of excitement in terms of what we want to see moving forward.
Yeah, I'm just hopeful, like you said. There's been injuries. You've got Kevin Byard, and you've been rotating players. My hope is that you come back from the bye. Kevin Byard is comfortable. Bradley Roby is back. You've got other options you can get out there for a dime. Sidney Brown is you can still play it as like a nickel. Just put Sidney Brown in there instead of Nicholas Morrow. And then you still have Zach Cunningham to fly downhill and destroy people on running plays. Sidney Brown does the same thing. Like, that's what I hope to see coming out of the bye. I have been willing to I've seen this for a few weeks. I've been willing to give it some latitude because of the injuries. That's got to get cleaned up, though, because it should have cost the Eagles this game. So hopefully moving into the Chiefs week, the Eagles will be ready for that. That is going to wrap it up here for this episode of On the Shane Page. Sorry to leave you guys on a negative note here. Maybe we should have ended on the offense. The offense played great, I guess, until they didn't at the very end of the game either.
But, and we beat Dallas. Beat
Dallas. So
that's what matters.
Just a reminder for everybody out there. You may often leave these podcasts feeling like we're nitpicking. That's what all 22 stuff is all about. Like, honestly, I tend to find myself contrarian. Like when the Eagles are winning, I tend to talk about like the things that aren't going right. And when they're losing, I tend to be talking about like, but this is what went right because it's not the things people are focusing on. So you're going to get some contrarian, some zigging where everybody else is zagging on this podcast. But I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Please do leave us 5-star ratings and reviews on iTunes. Let us know what we can do to make this show better. Like Johnny mentioned, if you guys will tweet at us on Monday before we get to the film, let us know. We can try to highlight like a specific player each week or something like that. So that's going to do it for our Eagles Dallas film review. We haven't talked about bye week. I don't know that we're going to do a show, but we'll definitely be back in 2 weeks to break down the Chiefs film.
I'll be around to do one. I've got some ideas, so we'll talk off air.
Okay, maybe there will be a bye week show because Johnny's got some ideas. So regardless, you guys keep it tuned here to BGN Radio, and we'll be in your feed when we're in your feed. Until next time, go Birds.